for three. Dagger!
We're not live. There we go. Hello, and welcome back to Well Beyond the Arc. I'm your host, Montana, joined as always by my co-host, David. Before we get into all this basketball, because we got a lot to talk about, I feel like I say that every week, but as we go farther throughout the NBA, we have more and more to talk about. David, before we get into it, bro, how you doing this week, man?
I'm pretty good. I don't know if I'll agree with the fact that we have a whole lot to talk about. Everything looks pretty much set and done. I mean, this is probably what's the word? It's probably the easiest. I don't want to say easiest, but like last time I remember, but like everything is kind of set. Whether or not we like it, it's kind of set. There's no like I mean, obviously the West is West, but like, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, one of our first topics is talking Celtics Cavs, and I don't know if the East is set 100%. The Celtics are kind of creeping up on the Cavs a little bit. I will say the Cavs have won a few more games in a row, and they look a little bit. I think they're 5-5 in their last 10, which is a little better than they were looking our last episode. But I'd say I agree with you. Some stuff is definitely set. Like, I mean, obviously OKC, that's set. I would say if you're looking at it how you should be, the MVP is. I think a lot of stuff is set. A few things are not yet, but I agree with you. A lot of stuff is set. Looking at our good, bad, and ugly, how we always start our show. For my good this week, I've got to go with the Lakers bouncing back after a really tough loss against the Bulls, because we've seen teams have really, really bad finishes to seasons after they have a really bad loss like that. And we won against two top 6 Western Conference teams against the Grizzlies and the Rockets. So I got to give the Lakers props for that comeback, because they very easily could have dropped one or both of those games. So, and looking at the games we have upcoming against the Warriors and the Thunder, we really need that momentum for those games. So I got to go with that being my good. What about you for this week? What are you thinking for your good?
I don't know, but I have to I have to give my good to OKC. I think we might just be sleeping on them, and I think everyone in the NBA sleeps on them. You know, like they casually are just going about their business. Like no one is saying too much on them. Like, and I kind of fear that they might win it all. Like I will not be mad if they win. Like I'll absolutely love if they win it all. You know what I mean? Like every like you put on your TV and no one is talking about OKC. Like they are slept on, like which allows them kind of carry their business. Like no one is in the spotlight. Like obviously SJ is in the spotlight, but like he's really not in the spotlight, to be honest. Like no one talks about him. Like you don't hear trouble from their camp, you don't hear news from this, you don't hear like they don't make breaking news, and they're just going about their business. No one talks about the coach, you know what I mean? They're just going about keeping basketball kind of. And in that same light also Celtics too, like they are literally just going about their business. Like, yeah, what have they won? Like 5 in a row or something along those lines, 6 in a, something along those lines, and they are on the verge of, winning the most games away from home, breaking the Warriors record of, or almost getting to the Warriors record of whatever it is. Like no one is talking about. Like they're all just being slept on. You know what I mean? Um, but the good about it is just like those two teams just absolutely going about their business, keeping the main thing the main thing. You know what I mean?
I like that. No, that's a really good point. And I think you have been a pretty big vocal, not just for SGA, but for the Thunder as a whole, this whole season, ever since. And even last year, I remember you having a lot to say about the direction that this team was going. And so I think no one is talking about them. And I think part of the reason is because I think that Lakers trade, when we got Luke, I think that really shook the West up and took all of the focus away from, not that the Thunder ever had I don't think they ever had the focus and the respect that they deserve. So I'm with you. I'll pull this comment back up. Sports Maniac said Thunder, OKC winning it all. I think that they're the team in the West right now that I see going to the finals, like clear cut 100%. They're the only team I can say I see doing that. But I'm not 100% sure if they'll be able to beat the team in the East, which I think will be the defending champ. Celtics. I really think with how they're playing now, they woke up at the right time. And it's not that they've had a bad season, but they're I think 9-1 in their last 10, and they have a momentum where, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, I think they very well could finish first. I think it's going to be separated by a game or two. They're 4 games back, I think, or something like that right now. There's only, I think, 8-9 games left. So I just think they're on a roll, and I think the Cavs are on the opposite of that. So I think they either finish a game or two ahead of the Cavs or a game or two behind, and with momentum that they didn't have a couple weeks. I think they're really building up a playoff momentum. So anyways, we're going to talk more about the Celtics in a little bit, but moving on to our bad. My bad has to be the firing of the Grizzlies coach. The reason this is bad is because I think this must mean there's something worse going on, because the fact that I think they're 4th or 5th in the West, they've maintained that the whole season, and they had a pretty bad season, underproductive season last year. So for me, this was kind of a bounce back. I didn't see them going far in the playoffs, but I thought this was a really good bounce back and a really good team that I wanted to see more of. So for me, I think there must be something going on within the organization for that, something that will end up possibly coming out, or it won't. But it's bad for the team because they have that momentum and they have that chemistry built up, and usually that is partly due to a coach. I'm not going to always credit that to a coach or say it's 100% the coach, but the coach helps bring the players together and get that chemistry going. So I think for me, it'll be interesting to see what happens to this Grizzlies team. Currently, I think they're matched up with the Lakers in round 1. Let's be honest, in 7-game series with how the Lakers have been playing, it's not happening. It wasn't happening when they had the coach they already had. It's definitely not happening with a new coach, new setup. So for me, the Grizzlies season is kind of done, and this is kind of a negative indicator of that. So that's got to be my bad. Again, we don't know the details, but it definitely wasn't because they were underperforming, because again, they were 44-20, something 40 plus wins when they fired him, and by far a better team than they were last year. So for me, that's got to be my bad. What about you? What are you rocking with for the bad this week?
I was trying to do the whole Shannon Sharp thing where he goes like OKC, UFC, KFC, Lakers fire, because Lakers are fire. But I couldn't come up with anything for Memphis. I was thinking of maybe Ja, Ma, whatever. Lakers in fire.
Hey, no, you got it.
Anyways, yeah, I have to agree on that. I think that's also my bad, because when I came out, I had to double check just to be sure that they were talking about like the Memphis Grizzlies. Like last time something like this came out, I remember was Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we all know the reason why that happened, where Boston just fired Ime Udoka mid-season or whenever he got fired, or like I can't remember the details exactly, but it kind of has that vibe to it. To like, you are 5th in the West. How many games are both competing for? You're not even competing for a play. You're competing for a top 2 in the West, literally, because they bearing in mind the 2 losses, they were playing good basketball to whatever games behind second, because that's just the West, So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like it was, and then obviously reports have come out that Ja complained about the offense, and the front office wasn't optimizing Ja or something. I don't just know. So it's kind of just a messy situation. And it's not like the firing has helped them. Like they have still lost 2 games, back-to-back games. Bearing in mind those oppositions were tough oppositions, they have still lost back-to-back games. I don't know. Again, whatever the matchup is, Lakers in 5.
Facts. Hey, agreed. For round 1, I think we can confidently say that that's probably the case.
Even 5 is a stretch. Even 5. I'm just giving them because they're Memphis and they might just snatch one.
Yeah. No,
whatever.
Whoever we end up matched up with, I still think we could finish higher up than where we are. But any team could, like you said. I mean, every team is so close. From the 2nd seed is not secured yet. I would say that is a pretty safe thing to say. And that will change the way the playoffs go, because again, how it's matched up now, if we're where we're at now, we match up with OKC in round 2. Essentially, that's essentially, because I don't see anyone beating OKC in round 1, no matter who it is. So essentially, that's a very tough matchup, and we'll talk about that later because there's some predicted seeding out. Moving on to ugly, I'm going with, and we've talked way too much about this player and this team. Honestly, I think we've talked about them almost every show this season, which is fine because they've had a lot to talk about. But the Suns, I've got to go with the end of Kevin Durant's Phoenix era as my ugly, because as we know, he went out with an injury. They said he's out at least a week. There's only 8 games left. I don't see him coming back. I see him being out. They're down, I think.
Come back for playing.
Maybe, because they're 11th right now. They're down by 1 game, I think, or they're tied for the 10th, something like that. They're right at that seed. Could Booker and that
they are 1 game behind.
They're 1 game behind. Could Booker and that team, but they're behind the Kings right now, and I don't see them. I don't see them getting in front of the Kings. Again, anything could happen. The Kings could go up, and then the team. It could anything. There's plenty of games left, but the point is, I don't see KD. You know what? That's actually, maybe he does. Maybe that is what happens. They make the play and he comes out. But I think we've seen Kevin Durant suit up for the Suns his last time. I think his time in Phoenix is done. And even if it isn't, let's say he comes back and has a play-in game, and then they squeak their way into the round 1 of the playoffs, or that he just has a big performance in the play-in and they still lose. Whatever happens, he's out of Phoenix after this season. Whatever happens, his time in Phoenix is done. And this is since he went to the Warriors, this is 2 teams that he went to where they built this team around him. Did they keep some of the pieces they already had? Whatever, sure. But for the most part, they built a team around Kevin Durant, and it didn't work. And we're looking at 2 teams where that's happened. And arguably this team had less success than the Nets with him on them. So for me, it's an ugly. It's ugly. What Kevin Durant does next is going to be super interesting for how we talk about his career when it's all said and done. What I will say is he is one of the best scorers of all time. He is one of the best players of all time. That is not going to change no matter what he does next. He was a huge part of 2 championships on the Warriors. You can't take any of that away, but if he goes to a team and they just completely fall apart, or they try to build a team, whatever he does next is really important. What I see happening is he goes to a contender and they make a push for a championship. I see a team that already has a very well-built team trying to make a move for him this summer. And so please, God, not the Lakers. I've seen reports of the Lakers making a move to make it happen to get him. I don't see that happening in any universe. I used to think Pelinka was an idiot and that he didn't know what he was doing, but the last few, like this year, I've changed my mind on him. Stephen Clay saved KD's legacy. I mean, listen, I don't like going on the whole legacy talk because I know that like ESPN says Ray Allen saved. I don't like saying this person saved that person's legacy because I just don't like, but I mean, I can agree with that. I can agree that Stephen Clay and that Warriors team, I don't want to say saved his legacy, but it made his legacy as a winner there, because before that he didn't win anything. After that, he didn't win anything. So yeah, it gave him kind of a, in my opinion, false view of like a leader and like a winner, when honestly, yes, it was the team he was on. So listen, and you had rings before KD. That is true. See, these are points that can be made that are actually very valid. So I will say I agree. The Warriors, I don't want to say the Warriors made Kevin Durant, but I will agree that they gave him a boost in his legacy and how people viewed him. And then he went to 2 teams, and it did not work out. So, again, that's my ugly. Kevin Durant's end of his Phoenix era, no matter what that means, has to be my ugly, just because as an NBA fan, I didn't love the trade or whatever when he went to Phoenix, but I thought, what if him and Booker, what if they can like make a push and be an exciting team to watch? And it just never happened. There was never consistency on those teams. So that's my ugly. David, what do you got for ugly this week?
I don't know, but I do agree. Didn't they just lose to the Rockets by like what, 39? That was mental.
Yeah, it was.
That was The Rockets had their best offensive game.
That was the game KD went out in.
Yeah, that was when I was watching. I'm like, what's going on? I saw this scores like 83, 50 something. And I'm like, what? This makes
Yeah,
no sense. At home, they were at home and they are losing by like 30.
terrible,
Anyways, that can be later.
terrible.
But anyways, uh, I don't know. I think there's so many things I found really ugly in the NBA in this past week. In this past week, I don't know. The season is rounding up, obviously. So I guess we can talk about this kind of, but just the fall of so many teams, and Phoenix being one of them. Pelicans also. Pelicans was kind of sad. They announced Zion and CJ McCollum were done for the season, which is fair. Shut them down. I think the fall of Dallas too should be studied. The one that I'm quite sad about should be the Sixers. The fall of the Sixers should be studied. Someone needs to go and find out what happened in that organization. Precisely what happened with Joel Embiid. And I always go back to this. How did bro play the whole Olympics and then comes back and he misses the start of the season? What are you doing between when the Olympics ended and start of training camp and during training camp that you missed the whole of the season? That should be studied. Something went wrong there, So I think the fall of the Sixers has to be studied. I think that was just ugly. Again, Miami too, the fall of Miami and that whole I think needs to be studied. Just these teams that were projected to do something really good and not with the season rounding up, most of them are done with elimination. I don't even know. Look, if Miami plays Chicago, I don't even know who will win. I fear Chicago might win with the way Kobe White has been playing and those boys are putting up numbers. I don't know. It's be tough, but yeah, that's just thinking about it now. It's just kind of disgusting, somewhat. Um,
Man, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. That is a really good ugly, and that's an ugly that kind of goes beyond just this week. That's where we're at for these teams at in the season, and like a lot of yeah, there's a lot of the Heat that have fallen off 100%, major fall off. Suns have had a major fall off, even though they've never been the most competitive and like top three team consistently with KD. They've at least been a competitive team that's played way better basketball throughout the season. And again, like you said, it's the play-in. It's just going to be super interesting to see where everything ends up, because a team like Chicago has been playing pretty terribly as a whole throughout the season, and obviously they look more like a rebuild team now. When you're looking at them top to bottom, but they're playing insane basketball, hitting half-court shots and winning games, playing really competitive basketball. So we could see them in round one. I don't see them going beyond round one of the playoffs, but we could absolutely see the Cleveland Cavaliers, or excuse me, well, they're playing about the same amount of style and level of basketball. But I'm talking the Bulls. We could see the Bulls in round one, 100%. More than likely matched up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think for me, I don't know. There's some pretty ugly basketball being played and some teams falling off. I'm just thanking the Lord it's not the Lakers this season. Moving on, as you guys know, good, bad, and ugly every week. If there is a good, bad, or ugly that you want us to talk about, you can always drop it in the comments before, during, or after the episode, and we can always try to address it at some point. We're going to move on, though, and talk about that number one seed in the East because it is starting to close in. The West is done. The West, I mean, the Thunder are running away with it. And they're on I think that's another team that's like 9-1 in the last 10 or 8-2, something like that. They're not taking their foot off of the gas. The Cavs, on the other hand, and you talked about this last show, they're a team that's kind of putting their foot gas brake. They'll win a game, lose 2 games, win 2. I mean, they're kind of just a mess right now. They can't find consistency. For me, and we're trying to talk playoffs a little bit later, for me, this is totally an indication of how they're going to do in the playoffs. They've never been a team that's been able to be a playoff team, and I think the fact that they're so inconsistent right now, I don't see them going past the second round in the playoffs. I'm just going to say that right now before we even talk playoffs. But they're still first. I believe they're 4 or 5 games above the Celtics. But the Celtics are 9-1 in their last 10, and I believe there's 7 to 8 games left. I want to say the Celtics have one more game than the Cavs potentially, or they have the same exact. Looking at the schedules, what I will say is this. the Cavs do not have the hardest schedule for the remainder of the season, looking at all the teams in the NBA. The Cavs could absolutely go on a run, and they have. They've won 8 to 10 games in a row. They've had big win streaks, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. And some of those games, even when they've won, they're winning by under 10 points to a Spurs team that has nobody. They're barely winning games that you would expect the number 1 seed in the East to win by 20 to 30. Maybe I'll say 15 to 30 points. Maybe I'll be a little more fair. But for me, the Cavs do not look like that team. The Celtics do look like that team. So I'm going to be honest. I would not be shocked if the Celtics finish first in the East. It's not going to be by 4, 5, 6 games. I think whoever finishes first in the East, I believe it's going to be separated by 1 or 2 games. At this point, because of how the Celtics are playing, I think it's going to be separated by 1 or 2 games because I think the Celtics have woke up, and they've been the second best team in the second to third. I don't think they were third. I don't think they've been third since All-Star break beyond, but maybe there was a time early in the season where they were like third, fourth, but they've been second consistently. But because of the Cavs' success, it's kind of outshined. And you said it best. We're not talking about the Celtics enough at all. I don't think we're talking nearly enough about the Celtics. And so I see them sneaking up and finishing a game or 2 ahead of the Cavs and going into that. And I'm going to be honest, that for me spells trouble for Cleveland, because if Cleveland is playing against the 7th seed, that's the Hawks. And I'm not going to lie, I don't want to be that guy and make a crazy claim, because if anyone is watching now or in the future remembers my call about the 76ers being that team, that obviously didn't happen. But I think the Cavs lose to the Hawks. I think there's at least a chance that the Cavs lose to the Hawks in round 1, especially if they finish the season on a losing streak. If we see momentum that continues and they finish second and they play the Hawks in round 1, give me the Hawks beating the Cavs in a 7-game series and bouncing them in round 1. That's all I have to say about that. Either way, I don't have the Cavs going far in the playoffs because of how they're finishing the season. I think that's an indication. I think how you finish the last 25 to 20 games is an indication of how you're going to go into the playoffs momentum-wise and just everything, chemistry-wise, all of that. And right now, the Cavs are not playing like a team with the best chemistry, with the best togetherness, with the best anything, even when they win games. So anyways, that's why I'm giving this take. I'm not just trying to make crazy claims out here, but give me the Celtics finishing a game or 2 ahead of the Cavs, Cavs finishing second, getting bounced by the Hawks. David, is that the craziest thing you ever heard? Let's hear it. What are your thoughts?
Not really. As you said, the East is pretty much still up for grabs. I don't know about that. I think Cleveland will still finish top, but I do agree with you. The momentum, how you finish the season, kind of, where you go in playoffs. I think Cleveland will need to strap up, because I feel like this is the first time they are doing this since LeBron left, where they are just going on a tear. So this is a whole new league for most of these players. Most of the players, this is like a whole new league of like dominating and then going into the regular season as contenders. So I do feel like this will be a learning call for both the players and even the coach Kenny Atkinson, who has been amazing this season. Let's not shy away from that. So I do agree with you that if they do want to go find the playoffs. Now, this is me saying pass the second round, because I think they'll make it past the first round easily. I don't think Hawks, even though, yes, Hawks, I do remember Hawks beating them both home and away, this back-to-back losses to the Hawks this is. I still think Cleveland will make it past the first round. Now, is the second round we have a problem, because I feel like that might be kind of sketchy, but we'll see. I still think they'll finish above the Celtics, but I also agree that it will be probably by 1 or 2 games. It won't be like what OKC is doing in the West of finishing by like 14.5 or 12.5 games behind, which is mental. But anyways,
crazy. Well, yeah, I do agree that is crazy. We are going to look at a Western Conference team finishing 10 plus games ahead of number 2, probably for the first time. I don't know when the last time that would have happened. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even think because even when the Warriors set the record, the Spurs were right up there with like 68 or like 67 plus wins. So I don't think we've seen a team be 10 plus games ahead. I don't want to make that claim. I'm definitely no historian, and I don't want to act like I am, and I don't even know the recent history on this, but I don't think we've seen a team finish 10 plus games ahead of number 2 for quite some time. I would be shocked if it's been in the 2010s. But if anyone in the comments or watching knows, fact check it for us. But what I will say is it's very impressive, and the Cavs are the opposite of that right now. So time will tell. Moving on, talking a little more conferences. We've done this before, not this season. I don't even know if we did this last season, but when we first started this show, when there was kind of a shift, because it always used to be the West was the most competitive conference and the best.
Still is though. It still is.
But there was a shift when like Kevin Durant went to the Nets, and when we saw the Bucks, when there was a little bit of a shift in the competitiveness. So we did this segment, I believe it was season 1 and maybe season 2. We've not done it since. Both times the consensus was the West was still on top, but the East was closing in. Now I would say that West is farther, because you're looking at the 8th seed, 40 plus wins, and then we look over at the East and it's like, I think 5th through 9th is like 30 wins. So you're looking at teams in the West that are, I mean, you said it best right when we started this. It still is. It's farther than it was a few years ago, I would say. I would say it was a little bit closer a few seasons ago. Obviously, the Knicks are kind of back on top in the East, but when we're talking about, I mean, I think it literally is just 1 through 4 that's 40 plus win teams in the East, and then I think it drops to 30 below.
Detroit and Milwaukee are 40 wins.
So it goes to 6.
It goes to 6. But here's, let me paint a picture for you just to show you what this is. Let's assume we are all in one big conference, right? Let's assume we have OKC first, Cleveland second, Boston third, right? Rockets fourth, Knicks fifth, right? Denver 7, whatever. Denver, then Lakers, then Memphis, then the Pacers. So in other words, let me tell you that if the Clippers go to the East, they'll be top 5. That's just how bad it is. If every team from first to the Clippers, which is 8th, go to the East, they'll be top. Like, we'll have to. That's just how bad the East is. Like, literally, any team that is not the Celtics, Knicks, or Boston, if they come to the West, they are going to sit in the playing spot. Anyways, I digress.
No, I mean, you are very correct. It is, when you look at the separation, it's more, I don't know. I also think there's something to be said for the depth in the West on these teams. I think there's more well-built teams, because I think, I don't know. For me, I think we've seen more pretenders than contenders in the East than we have in the West when it comes to playoff success. I think we've seen a lot of teams in the East have just this monumental success during the regular season, like the Cavs, and then they go to the playoffs and then they're bounced, and then that's that. So for me, it's farther than it was, because again, when we were looking at, like, when we did this before, it was like 2021, I want to say, or 2022, and that was when you had it was whenever KD was at the Nets. It was towards the end, but you still had some super teams or some teams that were more well built. You had a Heat team that had Jimmy Butler. They were coming off of that championship, and they were consecutively making it deep in the playoffs. So for me, I think it was closer when we did this a few seasons ago. Now I would say the West is back on top, and it's because of some of the moves that have been made and some of the teams that have been built up, and also just like you said, when you look at it in like a one conference view and you look at these teams matched up, there's definitely more Western Conference teams in that like top 10, and also there's more Western Conference teams that you could replace into the East, and they would be, not only would they be, this is another level you could take to your point, not only would they be in the top 5, top 6, they would probably easily win the West or East. They would probably dominate the East because of the buildup and the depth of those teams. Like even the Clippers, I honestly think the Clippers would go through and instantly be Eastern Conference Finals teams right away, just because I think the makeup of these Western Conference teams is stronger. So
I don't know about that. Might be a stretch. I feel that might be a stretch because we're saying winner of the conference. That's like Boston now. Boston is on the whole lot. Now Cavs maybe Cavs. I don't really trust.
No, I'm not saying they win it. I'm saying they. I'd say let's say Boston.
I don't think they have a shot with Boston. I think Boston is the best team in the West. Sorry, the East. By now, obviously record says otherwise, but still.
I think that's another thing. I think the Celtics being the team that's like the only team you can really say they're the best in the East is another, just because I think even though is OKC the best team in the West by far right now? Yes, but I definitely think there's a reality where they get knocked out in the playoffs. There absolutely is a reality. I don't think there's a reality where the Celtics do. I'm going to be honest. This could be a crazy take, but I think, I don't know. There's a lot more closeness in the West than there is in the East, in my opinion. Yeah. I think the East is pretty separate. And I think the Cavs are one of the teams that you could say is in the separation, but I think it's just the Celtics because the Cavs are proving to be a team that is already starting to disappoint before the postseason has even started. So I don't know. My take on them losing to the Hawks could be totally not true, but I don't see them going past the second round. Even if they make it through the first round, I don't think the Cavs make it past the second round. I don't think they have what it takes. I don't know.
I think as much as the record says otherwise in terms of OKC being miles ahead, I think when we come in a playoff scenario in the West, you might just see something different. Yeah, I don't know. The West just has something that just, I don't know. I might be yapping too much, and I might be a West Glazer, but like, it's just different. The East, I look at the East and I'm like, okay, Celtics, okay, Cavs, okay. On a good day, the Knicks, okay. On a good day, the Bucks. On a good day, the Pistons. Good day, freaking Pacers.
But that's a good day.
That's a good day, right? Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but this is what it is. It's still. I think the East has more rebuilding teams than the West. The East. So I feel like we should remove all the. This is my proposal for Adam Silver. Remove all the rebuilding teams, put them in one conference, put all the proper teams and put them in one other conference. Call that rebuild versus contenders. Let's see what happens. Because like there's so many teams that are just rebuilding. They have been rebuilding for forever. Freaking Washington Wizards have been rebuilding since Gil's Arena left. Or whatever. Hornets every season rebuilding. What? Toronto since the championship rebuilding. Nets.
Miami's now rebuilding.
I'm like, come on, why are y'all rebuilding? Like, what do you mean y'all rebuilding? Anyways,
that might be the best. You know what? That might be the best point out of all the points made. That the East has far more rebuild teams, and we're looking at rebuild teams that some of them were not rebuild teams when we did this segment before, like the Nets, like the Heat are now, I would say, a rebuild team. But then teams like the Wizards have been rebuild teams. So yeah, that's maybe the best point is the amount of rebuild teams that have been in the East as opposed to the West, because you're looking at some of the rebuild teams in the West are now pushing for playoff spots, pushing, like I would say, there's a lot of shifting that has gone on in the West since we did this segment before that has made it the top conference, I would say, and I would say pretty comfortably. I would say the West has probably secured its place as the top conference for quite some time. Now, time will tell, but again, I feel like the moves that have been made and the teams that have been built up, the West is on top. So let us know in the comments whether we're still live or whether we have gone off and we're not live anymore. And let us know which conference you think is best, if it's the West or the East. We're going to move on and talk a little bit of Laker basketball. The Lakers have some big games coming up. Speaking of the Thunder, that's one of them. But before we play the Thunder, on Thursday, we play the Warriors. And then I believe it's Saturday. Or no, it might be Sunday. I think it's Thursday we play the Warriors. Sunday we play the Thunder. I don't believe we have games in the middle of that. But I don't know. Me looking at the schedule and saying that now, I could be completely wrong. And actually, I'm going to look that up because I feel like
it's the Warriors, then one team, another run team, then OKC, Pelicans, then OKC.
Okay, so Pelicans should honestly absolutely be a W, so we're not even going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Warriors. The Warriors, and we've talked about them since they got Jimmy Butler. The Warriors have woke up and became a team that I would be honest to call them a contender. I would feel comfortable because you're looking at Curry and Draymond and a cast of Warriors that have been in this scenario before. They've been in the postseason. They've played together. When you're talking Draymond and Steph, they've won championships. You're talking Jimmy Butler. He's been deep in the postseason. He's helped lead teams. This is a really well-built squad. So I would feel very comfortable calling them a contender for the first time in a couple of seasons. I would feel comfortable calling them an actual contending team. But the Lakers are looking really, really, really solid. And to me, I think the Lakers pull off a victory against the Warriors on Thursday. I think it's going to be a super, super close game. I think we're going to see a game that's separated under 6 points, honestly. But I see the Lakers on top because I looked at the injury report today. Max, whatever his name is the only person out. We're looking at a full-strength Lakers team that is playing like a full-strength Lakers team. These last two games, they really, really showed up and showed out, especially the last one. The Grizzlies one, whatever. The Grizzlies one, it is what it is. But the one against the Rockets, to beat the Rockets, a team that is on fire, and I was wrong. Let's add this to the list of takes I've been wrong about this season. I said the Rockets would not be able to maintain their spot. They have. Do I think they'll be second at the end of the season? No, I don't. But they've been able to keep that, and they very well could still keep that by the end of the season. So for me, the Rockets, that victory was a huge victory for us. And the Grizzlies won, especially coming off of that Bulls disappointment game. So I have us beating the Warriors because I just think we're a little healthier, a little stronger, and I think it'll be a very close game, and I could absolutely eat my words and we could lose. But what I will say is I don't think I'll eat my words about it being a close game. This is not going to be a blowout for either team. We are very closely matched up teams skill-wise and position-wise, honestly. When you look down at, there's a very close matchup. So I think it'll be a really close matchup, and that'll show on the court. But give me the Lakers winning a close game. What do you got, David? Do you think we beat the Warriors Thursday, or do the Warriors get one on us and continue their impressive run? Because they're on a run right now. Thoughts?
No, I think it will be a good game. Obviously, they both just anytime the Warriors and Lakers, they never disappoint. Like that's the one matchup that they never disappoint, except obviously LeBron is not playing or Curry is not playing. They always go at it and give us marquee showtime basketball. So it's be a good game. Now about Lakers winning, 100%. I think Lakers win. Now do I think it's be a blowout? No, I don't think it's be a blowout. I think the Warriors are playing too good to just blow out. They will compete a bit, but the Lakers will pull away and win by like 10, 9, 7, whatever.
Like it.
But it will also be a close game. I don't think it'll be a close game also. But I think it won't be a blowout. So it will just be in the middle. I think it will be good. And is that crypto.com right now? I don't take that place for granted no more. Lakers are what? The Lakers are the third best home record in the NBA. Probably behind Boston and Cavs or whoever or OKC or whatever. So yeah, I don't take that for granted. So yeah.
It'll be a good game. And like you said, other than the name, I'm not a big fan of the name of the arena, but the force and the presence and what we do in there is very similar to past Lakers arenas for the Forum. I mean, we're talking about there's an energy that's there now. There's definitely an energy that's been building up that wasn't in this arena before. So shout out to the Lakers. I think they'll get it. Then we move on to the Pelicans, but again, that should be an easy W. But we've seen us drop easy Ws in regards to a game against the Bulls. So I don't think we'll blow. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think we'll win by 10 points. I wouldn't call that a blowout. I mean, I guess I don't know. Anyways, moving on to the Thunder, though. That's on Sunday. Then we have
Then the
Saturday
Thunder again. Then
away.
the Thunder. They are both away. Thunder games are both back-to-back away games.
I think we get what we win one, we lose one. I wouldn't be surprised if we split it. I honestly, when I looked at it earlier, did not realize we had 2 in a row against them. So I originally was like, we're going to beat the Warriors. We're going to beat the Thunder, go 2-0. Because we have back-to-backs, I would not be shocked if we split the series, go 1-1. I think, honestly, how I can see it going is either the first or second game is a very close victory where the Lakers win. And then I think the other one will be a victory where the Thunder beat us by like 10 to 15 points. I would not be shocked if the Thunder have a game. I don't know which one I want to put first, but I think we go 1-1 and we have one game where we have a close, aggressive, hard-fought game and we win. And then we have one where they kind of pull ahead because honestly, I do think, and we're going to talk about the current playoff bracket in a little bit, and that right now would have us going up against them. Spoiler alert for that segment, I don't have us being able to beat them in a 7-game series right now. I don't have the Lakers having enough to win in a 7-game series just because of what the Thunder have shown us the whole season, who they are, and that is, like you said, the best team in the West, a team that hasn't been talked about enough. The Lakers, to me, aren't a team that will win. Could it be a 7-game series? 100%. 6-game series? 100%. Do I see us getting swept? No. But the Thunder are a really, really, really good team, top to bottom, with depth, with youth. They have it all. For what an NBA team needs, in my personal opinion, this is one of the first teams that we have seen that checks off most, if not all, the boxes. So can we go 1-1 in a 2-game regular season series? 100%. But I'm worried about that postseason series if we're matched up against them virtually whenever that would be, because I think we would come against them no matter when that would be. But for me, I definitely think, I don't know. I would have to say that we go, I guess let's just say all 4 games because we got a 4-game stretch coming up, including the Pelicans game. Give me 3-1. Give me 3-1. We beat the Warriors, we beat the Pels, we get 1 OKC win, and then we drop 1 OKC game. I think that's – or 2-2. Maybe we drop both OKC games, or in a reality that is awful, we drop a Pelicans game, and then we drop an OKC game. But I think it's more realistic we drop both to the OKC Thunder than we drop one to the Pels. But either way, give me 3-1 or an alternative 2-2. What are your thoughts? Do you think we – finish 3-1, maybe 4-0? What do you think? What about those OKC games? How do you feel about those ones?
Well, these guys are for sure not taking their foot off the gas. So that's definitely that. They're definitely not slowing down or stopping down. So I do agree. I think 3-1 is very realistic. We win one, we win one, and we lose one. I think we 100% beat the Warriors. I think we 100% beat the Pels. Never thinking twice on those ones. But we will have I do see a situation where we go 3-1 and we drop 1 to OKC. But there's also the scenario where we go 4-0 and anything can happen. But we'll see. I still think I stand by and I agree with you. I don't see 2-2. I don't think we'll drop both games to OKC or 1 to Pelicans or whatever. I think we are going to go 3-1. And maybe that changes to 4-0. I don't know.
You never know. I think what I will say is I definitely feel more confident in this Lakers team than I have for years, bro. This part of the season, like I trust this team to finish 4th or 5th, and I won't be disappointed if that's where we finish. I'd love to finish 3rd. I'd love to finish 2nd. I think 2nd might be out of the question. Could we maybe finish 3rd? Possibly. But I'm just content with where we're at because this is the most comfortable I felt at this point in the season for quite some time. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit of playoff bracket talk because there is a bracket that has been released. Obviously, I don't actually agree with this bracket, but it definitely could end up being what happens. The bracket, we're going to start in the East. The bracket has the Cavs versus the Orlando Magic. We're just going to ring through this and just give brief predictions. I said the Cavs lose to the Hawks. I don't have the Cavs losing to the Magic. So that should tell you where my head is at for this current bracket. I have the Cavs beating the Magic in a 5-game series max. What are your thoughts on that current matchup for first and 8?
Wait, first and eighth, as in like, so what you're saying is the Magic will lose to the Hawks in the
This
play.
is just like the bracket that they have now for who's in.
Yeah, in the plane, yeah, and they'll lose to the plane, and then they'll lose the Hawks in the first playing game, and then in the second playing game beat between winner of Miami or interesting. Yeah, I agree. I think the Cavs will. I said I had the Cavs making it past the first round. I don't know about the second round, but it is what it is. So we'll keep it short and brief.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. Looking at the next one, it would be the Pacers and the Pistons. I'm going to be honest. I got the Pistons. I think the Pistons are an exciting team. The Pacers have had a little bit of a push and a little bit of success in the recent. Now, it hasn't really translated to their record 100%, but they've had a little bit of life, a tiny bit of life. But I think the Pistons have had a little more consistent success this season, and I think that the Pistons are a hungry team. So give me the Pistons beating the Pacers in round 1, and I wouldn't really call that an upset because the Pacers are definitely not a team that's been like, Eastern Conference Finals consecutively or made the finals. But I definitely think the Pacers going into this season, I think I was another one of the people that thought they might be a little more successful than they have been as an entirety, as a team. So, but give me the Pistons. What are your thoughts on this current matchup? Do you think Pistons win, or do you think the Pacers take care of business?
I think it's up in the air. I think, but I will respect the Pacers because they have let's look at what they did last season. Out of nothing, they just went, they have a fantastic run. So I'm not going to say it's not possible. I think this is one of those matchups that is up in the air. It will definitely be interesting. I think it will probably go the distance. I'm not going to say 7 games, but I think it's a good distance. But I don't really know who I have winning that. I think it's a great distance yet. Right? When we get towards the end, maybe when we talk about it next or whatever, maybe I'll give it better. But I do see it going to distance. So yeah.
Definitely. Absolutely. And again, that seeding could definitely end up flip-flopping potentially. It looks like it might be set around there, but we will definitely have to revisit that. Next, it is the Knicks and the Bucks. I'm going to give it to the Bucks. I've talked 100%. 100% going to give it to the Bucks. 100%. I think.
Which of the Bucks? Is there another Bucks? I don't know. What?
So the reason I'm giving to the Bucks is the Knicks are not a postseason team. I think this series will go to 7 games, but the Knicks are not a postseason team. They get bounced. They've been a pretty unsuccessful postseason team, top to bottom, in my personal opinion. Listen, it's just my opinion.
Wait, what?
When did the Knicks last make it past the third round or the second round of the playoffs?
Okay, well, we're talking about the first round though. The Bucks. Yeah, the Bucks. Oh well, okay. Hold on, Dame is out. Hold on. Even with Dame, I'll still not give them a chance.
Dame is out, but I'm still going Bucks. When Jay watches this, he's gonna
even with Dame.
I'm rocking with you this season.
Even with Dame and Giannis combined, I don't give them. No. So
you've got Knicks round 1. Okay, I respect your decision to pick that because I could go either way. I'm going. It's going to be a close series, but I'm going.
No.
You don't think it's going to be a close series either. You don't think it's going to be a close series.
Knicks in 5.
Knicks in 5. Okay.
Knicks in 5.
I respect. We'll have to revisit it because I think that would be shot. I think it's a 6 or 7 game series. Can you see it going 6 or 7 games?
No, Knicks in 5.
100%. Okay.
Jalen Brunson comes back and does what? Even without Jalen Brunson, I give the Knicks in 5. Okay, no. Okay. Without Jalen Brunson, I'll give it 6. Without Jalen Brunson, I'll give it 6. But Jalen Brunson back, Knicks in 5.
Fair pick. I'm still going with my, not with my boys because they're not my boys, but I'm still going with them. I'm still rocking with who I'm rocking with. I think they'll pull it off. I think the Bucks have more playoff experience. I think even not 100%
Which of the Bucks?
healthy.
Which of the Bucks?
What do you mean?
Which of the Bucks? Which of the Bucks has more playoff experience? Giannis? Brook?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
Kat just came from the Western Conference Finals. Mikal went to the Western Conference Final.
We're talking about guys who've been in it together for season after season after season after season. I don't know. I get what you're saying, and Kat has also disappeared in the playoffs before and been a little bit. So I don't know. Listen, time will tell. I like that we have two completely different picks for this because I really think this matchup is going to end up happening, and so we'll have to revisit it. But listen, I'm not. What I will say is I 100% get where you're coming from, and I think your pick makes the most sense and is the safest pick. But we're not being safe here. Bucks and 7. Give me Bucks and 7. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. Bucks and 7. Moving on, we got Celtics Hawks. I'm not going to waste my breath. If this is a matchup that ends up happening, give me the Celtics in 4 or 5. Yes, I do think that the Magic and the Hawks are that big of a difference for the Cavs. I think the Cavs could definitely beat a Magic team. I don't think the Cavs can beat the Hawks. I think the Hawks, what I will say before people just question my take and wonder why I'm giving another crazy one, I think the Hawks are a really good team at exposing another team's weakness. And I think they would definitely be able to expose certain spots that the Cavs have shown weakness in these last 15, 20 games. So for me, that is why I think the Hawks would beat the Cavs, but I don't see them beating the Celtics. Give me Celtics. What are your thoughts? You think the Celtics win or the Hawks pull off a surprise?
I'm not even trying to say too much.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think we all know.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, I like the Hawks, and the Hawks, they are a sketchy, streaky team, but I don't see them beating the Celtics. I'm not even thinking.
No, that's totally fair. I think that's fair. Moving on to the West. Well, looking at this potential thing, I honestly think it's going to be I think it's going to be Pistons Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm going to give my crazy, way too early Eastern Conference Finals takes. I think it's going to be Pistons Celtics matching up in that Eastern Conference Finals. But regardless of who you think it is, do you think we both can agree that the Celtics will probably be the team coming out of the East, or do you think there's another team that has, like, do you think the Knicks have what it takes to be a team that makes it that far and potentially be a finals team? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I still have the Celtics and the Cavs in the conference finals. I don't see, as much as I'm saying the Cavs, I don't see the Cavs going past the second round. I do see a conference final where both of them make it, and Celtics emerging victorious.
That's fair. That could be a really exciting series.
If the Cavs don't make it, then it's probably because I have the Celtics beating New York, because New York will make it and then they'll play Celtics. So I guess it'll probably be the Pacers again. I do have the Pacers against Detroit. Maybe Detroit. Maybe Detroit. I do agree. That's fair. That's a fair take too. Detroit.
Again, like we said, it's very up in the air. A lot of things could change both before then and during the actual postseason. But it could be any number of those teams. I agree. There's a list of. I could be the Cavs. I think they get bounced, but they could make it past. Looking at the West, Thunder, Clippers. Not going to waste my breath. It doesn't matter who the Thunder play; they're bouncing them. So give me the Thunder over the Clippers because that's who's currently looking at like they're going to be in that 8th spot. What are your thoughts there?
I'm not going to say anything on the West because I think the West is too tricky. I think I don't know. The West is just too tough.
No, that's fair.
But yeah, I OKC coming out against Clippers 100%. Whoever plays the OKC in the first round, 100% is going out. Let's not even think twice about it. Now that's probably the only matchup I'll predict.
What about Lakers Grizzlies? I think you said earlier. I think
I
we
don't
can-
I don't even know if the Lakers will play the Grizzlies.
no, and
we
that's
want to avoid OKC as
just if this is this. I don't think we will. I think we'll be in a different.
yeah. As I
But
said, Lakers
if
Lakers
we
in
do
five.
play the Grizzlies,
I don't care who Lakers play as long as it's not OKC or Denver.
first
Lakers
round
in
is 5. Okay, it's fair. For me, if you don't want to predict this one, you don't have to. Nuggets Warriors is what it looks like now.
Oh, Denver. I'm never thinking Denver.
Let's go. See, okay.
Denver is 6, maybe. I'll say because I don't
6.
trust their defense. Denver is 6.
Denver in 6. And then T-Wolves Rockets, if that is how that ends up, I'm going T-Wolves. Let's go upset ish upset. I don't know if we,
That's a
I'm
tough
going-
one.
But again,
that's like
I don't think
what they
it'll be
call
Rockets.
it.
I don't think
That's like Pacers Detroit. That's like the Pacers Detroit.
I
of
want
the
to see
West.
Lakers Warriors round 1. That's what I want to see.
That would be fun. That would be
That's-
fun. Obviously,
that's
I'll
what we wanna
have,
see.
I'll have Lakers in 5 on that one. So Lakers in 5.
Same. And I'm with you. Nuggets, we don't want to see Nuggets. I think we could beat Nuggets. I really do in round
Yeah.
1, but we don't want to see them because I think that would take a 7-game series, and we do not want to see the Thunder. We don't. No one wants to see the Thunder.
No
in
one
round
wants to Thunder,
I
exactly.
don't think. But I think honestly, give me Celtics Thunder for the finals. I really think that's. I think that's a very good possibility that we'll see Thunder and Celtics in the finals. But you never know. Maybe Pistons versus Lakers, a little 80s revival matchup. A little 80s throwback to the 80s when they were fighting in the 80s. That would be not something we're going to see, but that'd be kind of exciting. Pistons Lakers, let's go. I'm calling it right here. Pistons Lakers. David, you heard it here first. Me and David are saying Pistons Lakers in the finals. No, but last thing we're doing today is we usually do a top 5. Today we're doing a top 10 because we're doing top 10 players in the league. It's for me, I have a top 5 that for me wasn't super hard to pick, but I wanted to incorporate more and do a top 10. So we're doing a top 10, our top 10 best players. Now, this to me is about team success. This is about health. Some of my players are not ranked as high because they have not played as much of the season. There's just a couple of factors. So we're going to get right into it. If there are any top 5s or top 10s you guys want to see, drop them in the comments, and feel free to let us know your opinions on our lists. Moving on to the lists, my number 10 for top 10 current NBA players is Kevin Durant. Obviously, Kevin Durant did not have the best season health-wise, success-wise, all of that, but he's still averaging over 25 points a game and had some explosive nights. And what I want to say about Kevin Durant, all the times that we have criticized him, one thing that's impressive to him about me is despite all of his injuries, he still plays like Kevin Durant. The way he plays to me hasn't really hindered. He can still throw up a 40 piece on your head and score from almost anywhere. So for me, Kevin Durant is still Kevin Durant when he plays. And so that's not the only reason he's 10. I'm not going off of nostalgia or, he's still the same, but he definitely is still a top 10 skilled player because he's probably one of the best top 5 scorers when he's healthy and can string. He just didn't have a chance to string together enough games this season, but he's got to be my number 10. David, who's starting your list off at number 10?
It's a tough one. It's actually tough. Ranking NBA players is tough. Because
This is a tough one.
I'm literally. I don't necessarily agree with Kevin. I think Kevin Durant is still a top player, but I don't know if he's top 10.
Totally
but I don't
fair.
know who I'll put above him.
So you would still put him top 15, you'd say probably.
Definitely. I just don't know if he's
You'd say he's right on the outside possibly for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally fair. Totally fair. I think that.
Um, I don't know. I probably put Jalen Brown up in
Ooh,
there.
nice. Okay, very nice. Yeah, I like
Jalen
that.
Brown, or I want to say Donovan Mitchell, because we're talking about this season and
I
team
like that.
success and all that stuff.
Very good picks.
Uh but yeah, let's put a pin on that. I'll
It's,
know it's
it's
come back to that.
absolutely no. That's a good. Those are good picks. So number 9, I'm going Luca. Luca is averaging over 25 points a game and putting up not a triple double, but he has nights where he is nearing triple doubles most nights. And shout out, I think he's playing better defense. He's playing better defense. He's looking a little bit. I mean, he was already one of the best scorers in the league, one of the best all around players in the league, besides defense. I would say one of the best offensive all around players. I don't want to say deep. And now I think we're seeing him branch out and grow a little bit. So the reason he would be higher on my list, not by much, probably by a spot or two, but because he's been injured a lot of the season, I've got to put him at 9. This could be a controversial pick because he's missed time, missed quite a bit of time, missed more time than a Jalen Brown or a Donovan Mitchell. Like, he's definitely missed more time than players that you mentioned and players that have put up big numbers. But because of what he's done in such a short amount of time and his all-around play, I couldn't leave him out of my list. So he's my number 9. There are some players ahead of him that honestly had smaller or lower averages in certain areas. But again, it's because he's not been consistent and just came back that he's as low on my list. So Luka's number 9. Who's your number 9?
Jalen Brunson. I think again, we can kind of see the importance of him on the Knicks. I think if he didn't get injured, maybe he would have probably be higher. But just because I'm looking at the other guys and I don't think he's, I don't know. It's kind of tough to justify why he's. I just feel like he's number 9. Let's just put it like that.
Totally fair. Well, we're not much far off in our thinking of him because he is my number 8. I initially made this list and had him ranked a little bit, just a spot higher, but because of the impact that the player that is number 7 has had for his team and his consistency this year, I had to knock Brunson down up here. Brunson would probably be for me my 6 or 7, but again, probably my 7. I probably can't go above 7 or below 7, whatever you want to call it. But for me, because of the injury and because he hasn't been as consistent, but when he's on the floor, I mean, he's Jalen Brunson. He's one of the best guards in the game. So definitely my number 8, pretty comfortably my number 8, and definitely hope to see him come back and play some aggressive basketball during the playoffs. So who do you got sitting at your number 8 spot?
Let's go with Luca because the sample size is small. Sample size is just enough to show that there is something there. You know what I mean? Like, the sample size is really good, but I don't think he's been impactful. You know, we've seen his loss of impact on Mars. We've seen when he's not playing with Lakers. So yeah, but I think Luka, even though he's played less than the required number of games, if he had kept up with the number of games, he would have been an all NBA guard. I think he would maybe second team All NBA, third team All NBA, whatever. I think he would have been an all NBA guy. But yeah, give me Luka Doncic.
Great pick. Great pick. 100%. Moving on, my number 7, give me Curry. Give me Steph Curry. His averages are a little bit lower this season. I think it's around like 24 points a game. But
Yeah.
first, dude can go off any night. Dude can score as many points as he wants any night. And his impact in a lot of areas is still there. He's still Steph Curry. And to me, he is an elite guard. He is, other than some of the guards that are above him, specifically one guard, he absolutely is still a top 5 guard in this league. And again, he can score from just about anywhere. And I don't think we give him enough credit for what he does other than his threes, because he gives players hell on offense and defense when they match up against him, and he still does that on a nightly basis. So give me Curry. Curry's my number 7. I couldn't put him higher, but I definitely couldn't put him lower either. I think this is right around where he's at. So who do you got sitting at number 7 on your list?
Anthony Edwards.
Good, very good.
Now this is why I come, because again I'm looking at team impact. You know what I mean? Like I'm going off. I'm looking at team impact. Yeah, like they are individually maybe, but if you're not impacting your team, then how are you the best? You know what I mean? So give me Anthony Edwards at number 7. I think he hasn't been as impactful as we would have loved him to be, but it is what it is. So yeah.
I'm with you. And honestly, he's sitting right up there for me. He is my number 6. Moving on to my number 6, I've got Anthony Edwards, because individual success, his averages and what he's doing on the court is very impressive, and he's still playing at a level that he's been at. Last season, when they had a little more team success, he was doing this last season. This is what he does, but the fact that the team success has dropped a little bit, it does definitely knock where he's at as an overall player, because the players above him have all helped their teams stay within, I'd say, I think all of my top 5, everyone on that list, their teams are in the top 6 in their conferences. Their teams have stayed, and most of them are in the West, I would say, or at least it's pretty closely. Actually, maybe that's not true, but I would say, yeah, most of them are in the West. So for me, it's like, you know what I mean? For me, it's definitely he's right outside that for me. He's definitely got to be that 6 for me. I couldn't put him in my top 5 because the best point that you made, team success. So who do you got sitting at? Are you at number 6? Yeah, number 6.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of skewed. Like I'm looking back on my list, and it's kind of skewed. Jaylen Brown that low. I feel like he probably should be up in the 7s, 8s. I don't know, because he's still been dominant. Like he's not been as dominant as last season, but he's still been really good.
True.
But number 6, give me Steph Curry, because I think the Warriors will be nowhere near anywhere they are right now without Steph Curry.
You literally summed it all up in like one sentence. That was because that's true. They would not be. You take him out, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, that's not the same team. 100%, bro. It's a really good way of putting it. Breaking into our top 5, sitting at number 5, I've got LeBron James. I could not put him above 5, but I also couldn't put him below 5 when I sat down and really thought about it, because his team impact, he is doing even defense. I mean, he is doing it all right now. He has really had a revival where he looks like he's 26, 27, 28, and he's putting up averages like he's that age. So despite some injuries and some back and forth on the lineup, he's been really consistent, and the acquisition of Luka, I think, has added a certain level of almost youthfulness to his game and to like what he's doing. And I think we're going to see the Kings stick around LA for 1 to 3 more seasons because of this acquisition. So for me, I'm really excited. I'm really happy. And this is the best and healthiest I think we've seen LeBron top to bottom the last few seasons. So he's my number 5. The fact that a player that's played 20 plus seasons and is 40 years old is in the top 5 in the NBA. And this isn't just our list. I'm going to assume he's in your top 5 too. He's probably in many people's, including analysts, top 5. And the fact that dude is that old and still making those top 5s is wild. So LeBron James, comfortably number 5. Who do you got sitting in your number 5 spot?
I mean, you said it better than I did. Like, it's definitely LeBron James. Like he's been doing it. He's probably the reason why I think, the team has bought into JJ Redick, and kind of like, it starts from your leader. It starts from your best player. Like, we don't know, we like it. Some might say Luka is the best player at Lakers. Some might say it's LeBron. But the fact that that's a debate is still crazy. You know what I mean? Like, he's still there, whether he wants to say number 1, number 2. He's a top 3 option for the Lakers, and he transits in the game. You can see when he's out of the lineup. We all know what happens when he's out of the lineup. So this is where it is.
Very true. And that is another good way to wrap it up and say it about LeBron, is when he's out of the lineup, you see how they perform. So it's a big difference. Breaking into our top 4, I got Jason Tatum at number 4. Super successful with the Celtics, leader of the Celtics, coming off of a championship, possibly gunning for a back-to-back, very realistically gunning for a back-to-back. Definitely a reason that they go on certain runs and little pushes because of his leadership and his style of play. So the players I have above him for statistical and team. Well, I have one player above him that is not above for team success. I guess technically, if you want to be technical for records, two players above him are not above him for their record/team success, but I just have the players being better this season. But give me Jason Tatum number 4, and it's not a bad spot to be in. I'm sure he's in plenty of people's top 5, maybe higher than mine, maybe he's higher on your list, but who do you have sitting at 4?
Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Giannis number 4. I think he's probably also the one reason why the Bucks are where they are too. If not for him, him and Dame. If not for them, too, the Bucks are atrocious. So give me Giannis. I think he's dropped a level too. Also, like I don't blame his injury. Things have just not been the way they should be, but he's still been up there. So yeah,
good pick, very good pick. Moving on to the top 3, my number 3 is Giannis. I have him above Tatum. Now again, team success, but Giannis has, in my eyes, when I've watched Bucks games this season, he's had some extremely dominant games, and that's just his game. That's who he is. He is a player that could dominate any era, could go into any basketball era and you know exactly what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. He could go into any era, though, and kill him. What about it? Maybe 250 points? Something like that. But no, I do really believe that Giannis is that player. What I will say is, you make a good point about the injury. Excuse me. You make a good point about the injury. He's had some injuries that have knocked him down potentially, but I think that he has helped keep this Bucks team where they're at, because you take him out, and yeah, you take Dame out, but I think you really just take Giannis out. You keep Dame on this Bucks team. You switch them. You put Dame on this Bucks team. Giannis is out with a very serious injury. I think they're a least successful team. I think they don't have as much success because I think Giannis has a certain level of leadership and physical ability that, for me, puts him at 3. So that's my 3. Who do you got at 3?
Jason Tatum. I think no one really talks about. He's also a sleeper too. No one really talks about how good he is. Like, there are times I'm watching the Celtics, and again, because no one really talks about the Celtics, no one really talks about Jason Tatum. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, I think his record speaks for himself. He's been consistent, and yeah, I don't even know what to say. I just think he's phenomenal. Yeah, so this is what it is.
I mean, I'm with you. Again, the record, what he does physically, and I mean, he is that leader. Him and Brown have been there together, but he definitely has assumed that leadership position, and he's a huge reason that they got that championship. So I'm with you on that. Top 2, I got a feeling we have the same top 2. I could be wrong. I'm just going to read off my top 2, and then you can read off yours. We'll see if we're correct. Number 2, I got Joker. Joker is probably the best offensive all-around player because he's putting up big numbers with assists. He's putting up big numbers scoring. He's putting up pretty big numbers, but there's no defense there. Let's be honest. Joker lacks. There's not a level of defense there that my number 1 SGA, who has been more available. He's played more games. He's had more consistently high. I mean, I saw an insane stat of the number of 20-plus point games he had in a row or something. I don't remember what it was, but I saw that on Instagram the other day, and I really should have saved it, but I sure did not. But it's some crazy stat. I mean, he has scored over 20 points a game like it's been nothing.
Let me also drop one stat for you.
Do
If
it.
you look at the scoring charts in the NBA, he's 1 to 4 quarter. He leads the league in scoring. He's 1 to 3 quarters. He's third in the NBA in scoring. I don't know if that makes sense, and I can probably explain better,
Oh, yeah, totally. It's insane. And then you hear about his defense. He has a level of defense and leadership on both sides of the ball. He talks, he gets his team going. they would not be the same team without him. I think they'd still be a top 4 team in the West. They would not be first and winning like they are without him. But I think they'd be – give me top 6. Let me be more realistic. They'd still be a top 6 team. You take him out. But they would not be first and ahead by 10-plus games without SGA. So that is why he's first, because a player that has that type of what's the right word? Now I can't even think of what I'm trying to say. That type of just role. I'll just keep it easy. That type of role and that type of influence on a team, how could they not be first? David, do you agree, or do you got Joker at your number 1?
No, I agree with you. I mean, SJ is my MVP right now, and SJ is the MVP. I don't know. I'm not really
I would be shocked if that changed. So
it's not changing.
But we'll revisit MVP again. There's still some basketball left. This takes us to the end of this show. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is not the only place you can find David and I when it comes to podcasting. David, where else can our viewers find you when it comes to podcasts?
Sounds good. We'll be back next week, fully Man with Football Fans podcast. We're on break because of the international break. But we'll be back next week. The season is in the running. What we call the final stretch and the playoffs. We have that in soccer. We don't necessarily have playoffs, but we have the final stretch where every game matters. That's what we'll be talking about. So feel free to check us out.
Make sure you guys check them out. And then the College Football Junkie will be returning within the next 2 weeks. I'm talking to my co-host about when we'll be returning. Friday or Saturday mornings is probably when we'll be coming to you guys. Probably Saturday mornings, but we'll keep you guys updated on that. We're going to talk spring games or lack thereof for certain teams that have opted to not have spring games. We'll give our opinions on that, and then we'll just talk some early season predictions and we'll talk some football. So College Football Junkie, you can find that right here on the Yankee and the Brit. Again, I don't have a start date yet, but we'll get that advertised ASAP. But thank you guys as always for tuning in, and we will bring you guys more NBA news, drama, and everything in between next week. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great week.